Nina Simone and Martin Luther King Jr. had a secret meeting that changed both their lives forever. But what they discussed that night was so controversial, so dangerous, that Nina never spoke about it publicly. Tonight, I'm revealing the conversation that could have changed the course of American history, and why Nina took these secrets to her grave. According to official records, Nina Simone and Martin Luther King Jr. met only a handful of times. They appeared together at civil rights rallies, exchanged pleasantries at fundraising events, and shared stages at protest gatherings. But these were public encounters, carefully choreographed for maximum political impact. What the history books don't record is the private meeting that took place on March 15, 1967, in the basement of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. It was a meeting so secret that even their closest advisors didn't know about it. A meeting that would reveal the growing rift between two very different approaches to civil rights and expose secrets that could have destroyed both their careers. Nina received the call at 2 a.m. on March 14th. The voice on the other end was unfamiliar, but the message was clear. Dr. King requests a private audience with you tomorrow evening. Come alone. Tell no one. At first, Nina thought it might be a trap. The FBI had been harassing her for years, and she knew they weren't above setting elaborate snares. But something about the caller's tone convinced her this was genuine. There was an urgency, a desperation that government agents couldn't fake. Nina had no idea why Dr. King wanted to see her privately. Their relationship had been cordial, but distant. They respected each other's work, but they moved in different circles. Nina was the firebrand, the angry voice that sang Mississippi Goddam and called for immediate action. King was the diplomat, preaching nonviolence and gradual change. What could he possibly want to discuss in secret? The Dexter Avenue Baptist Church at midnight was a different place than it was during Sunday services. The stained glass windows that cast rainbow light during the day now loomed like dark sentinels. Nina entered through a side door, as instructed, and was met by a man she didn't recognize. Tall, well-dressed, with the bearing of someone accustomed to danger. Miss Simone, he said quietly. Dr. King is waiting downstairs. The basement was spartanly furnished. Folding chairs, a card table, a single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling. And there, sitting in the harsh light, was Martin Luther King Jr., but this wasn't the confident, inspiring leader Nina had seen on television and at rallies. This was a man who looked haunted, exhausted, as if he hadn't slept in weeks. Thank you for coming, Nina, King said, gesturing to a chair across from him. What I'm about to tell you, it can never leave this room. But I need someone to know. Someone who understands the cost of fighting this fight. King's voice was different, too. Gone was the rhythmic cadence of his speeches, the musical quality that had moved millions. This was the voice of a man confessing his sins. The movement is dying, Nina, and I'm the one killing it. Nina had expected many things from this secret meeting, but not this. Martin Luther King Jr., the symbol of hope for millions of Black Americans, was telling her that he was destroying the very cause he had devoted his life to. What could he possibly mean? King began to speak about the internal conflicts that were tearing the civil rights movement apart. The young activists who thought he was too moderate. The older leaders who thought he was too radical. The government officials who were playing all sides against each other. You know about the FBI surveillance, King said. But that's not the worst of it. They found ways to turn us against each other. They have recordings, photographs. Things that could destroy not just me, but the entire movement. King paused, running his hands over his face. He looked older than his 38 years, aged by the weight of secrets he had been carrying. They know about Memphis. Nina, they know what really happened there. King was referring to a labor strike in Memphis that had turned violent the previous month. The official story was that outside agitators had infiltrated a peaceful march and caused chaos. But King was now revealing a different truth. I knew it was going to happen, he said quietly. I had intelligence that there were FBI provocateurs in the crowd. People whose job was to start a riot and make us look like we couldn't control our own people. But I let the march proceed anyway. Nina stared at him in shock. You knew there would be violence and you didn't stop it? I thought we could contain it. I thought the cause was more important than the immediate consequences. I was wrong. People got hurt because of my decision. King continued, his voice growing more strained with each revelation. He talked about the impossible choices he faced daily, whether to denounce the Black Panthers and lose the support of young activists, or embrace them and alienate moderate whites. Whether to speak out against the Vietnam War and risk being labeled unpatriotic, or stay silent and betray his conscience. Every decision I make, someone suffers for it, King said. Every compromise I accept, some part of the dream dies. And the worst part is, I'm starting to wonder if any of it matters. But King's most shocking revelation was yet to come. Because what he told Nina next would explain not just his current despair, but also his assassination just 13 days later. It was a secret so dangerous that Nina would spend the rest of her life wondering if she could have changed history by acting on what she learned that night. King leaned forward, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. Nina, I need you to understand something. The government doesn't just want to discredit the movement. They want to end it permanently. And they've found a way to do it. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a manila envelope. These came to me 2 weeks ago, anonymously, but I know they came from someone inside the FBI. The envelope contained photographs, grainy, black and white surveillance shots of various civil rights leaders. But these weren't the usual meeting photos or rally documentation. These were personal moments, leaders with their families in their homes, in situations that would be devastating if made public. They have compromising material on everyone. Nina, everyone who matters in this movement. And they're preparing to release it all at once in a coordinated campaign designed to destroy our credibility permanently. King explained that he had received an ultimatum through back channels. He could continue his civil rights work, but only within parameters set by the government. No more criticism of the Vietnam War. No more support for economic justice programs. No more of the radical rhetoric that was making white America uncomfortable. They want me to become a puppet, Nina, a safe black leader who talks about dreams but never demands action. And if I refuse, he gestured to the photographs, they'll destroy not just me but everyone I've worked with. Your name is in their files too. King looked directly at Nina, his eyes filled with desperation. That's why I asked you here. Because you're one of the few people in this movement who isn't beholden to anyone. You don't have a family they can threaten, an organization they can destroy, a reputation they can ruin more than they already have. Nina felt a chill as she realized where this was heading. I need you to be my insurance policy, King continued. If something happens to me, and I think it will, I need someone who knows the truth. Someone who can tell the world what really happened. Nina was about to ask what King expected her to do with this information when he revealed the most shocking part of his plan. Because Dr. King wasn't just asking her to be a witness, he was asking her to be an accomplice in something that would change both their lives forever. I'm going to refuse their ultimatum, King said quietly. I'm going to give a speech next month that will make Beyond Vietnam look moderate. I'm going to call for complete economic divestment from American institutions that support racism. I'm going to demand reparations. I'm going to say things that will make it impossible for them to control me anymore. Nina stared at him. Martin, that's suicide. They'll destroy you. Yes, he said simply. They will. But maybe that's what it takes. Maybe the movement needs a martyr more than it needs a leader. King leaned back in his chair, and for a moment Nina saw a glimpse of the man who had inspired millions. But I'm not going to make it easy for them. I want you to document everything. This conversation, the photographs, the threats. I want you to be ready to tell the world the truth when I'm gone. Nina felt the weight of what King was asking her to do. He wasn't just requesting that she keep his secrets. He was asking her to become the keeper of his legacy, the person who would either vindicate or condemn him in the eyes of history. Why me? She asked. Why not someone closer to you, someone the movement would actually listen to? King smiled sadly. Because they would listen to you, Nina. You have something I've lost. Authenticity. When you sing about pain, people believe you because they know you've lived it. When you sing about anger, they know it's real. If you tell them what happened to me, they'll believe you. As the meeting drew to a close, King made one final request that would haunt Nina for the rest of her life. Promise me something, he said. If they kill me, and they will, don't let them make me into a saint. Don't let them sanitize my message and turn me into a safe symbol they can parade around every January. Tell them I was angry. Tell them I was flawed. Tell them I was ready to burn the whole system down if that's what it took to get justice. Nina promised. Nina promised. Though she had no idea how she could possibly keep such a vow. 13 days later, on April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis. Nina was performing in New York when she heard the news, and her first thought was of their secret meeting. Had King followed through on his plan to defy the government? Was his death the result of that defiance? In the chaos following the assassination, Nina found herself unable to speak about what she knew. The country was in mourning. Riots were breaking out in major cities. And any suggestion that King's death was anything other than the act of a loan. Gunmen seemed dangerous and irresponsible. Days turned to weeks. Weeks to months, and still Nina said nothing. She watched as King's legacy was indeed sanitized, as his radical message was softened into something more palatable for mainstream America. She watched as the "I Have a Dream" speech became his only remembered message, while his critiques of capitalism and militarism were forgotten. But Nina's silence came at a terrible personal cost, because what she discovered in the months following King's death would confirm her worst suspicions about the conspiracy he had described and reveal that her own life was in more danger than she had ever imagined. In late 1968, Nina began receiving visitors, men in suits who claimed to be journalists, researchers, documentary filmmakers. They all asked the same questions. What was her relationship with Dr. King? Had they ever met privately? Did she know anything about his final weeks? Nina recognized these for what they were: fishing expeditions, attempts to discover how much she knew about King's secret meeting and his planned defiance. Her paranoia, already heightened by years of FBI harassment, reached new levels. Then, in early 1969, some of the photographs King had shown her began appearing in underground newspapers and fringe publications. They were presented as newly discovered evidence of corruption in the civil rights movement. But Nina recognized them as the same images she had seen in that Manila envelope. The government was following through on its threat, slowly releasing compromising material to discredit King's allies and supporters. But they were being strategic about it, targeting only those leaders who continued to push for radical change. Nina realized that her own silence was the price of her safety. As long as she didn't reveal what she knew about King's final weeks, she would be left alone. But if she ever spoke out, if she ever tried to tell the world what really happened in that church basement, she would become a target. The weight of this knowledge began to consume her. She started drinking more, trusting people less, withdrawing from the civil rights movement she had once embraced. The Nina Simone who had sung Mississippi Goddam with righteous fury was slowly being replaced by a woman haunted by secrets she couldn't share for the rest of her life. Nina carried the burden of that secret meeting. She would occasionally hint at it in interviews, making cryptic references to things she couldn't talk about or secrets that would destroy people's faith in the movement. But she never told the complete story. Even in her autobiography, I Put a Spell on You, published in 1991, Nina only alluded to her relationship with King. She wrote that they had profound disagreements about strategy but provided no details about their private conversations. It wasn't until 2003, just months before her death, that Nina finally broke her silence. In a series of recorded interviews with a French journalist, interviews that were sealed for 20 years after her death, Nina revealed the truth about her secret meeting with Martin Luther King Jr. He knew they were going to kill him. Nina said in one of these final interviews, he practically planned his own assassination by refusing to be the kind of leader they wanted. And he asked me to be his witness, to tell the world what really happened. But I was too afraid. I was too selfish. One chose my own safety over his legacy. Nina's voice on these recordings is frail but clear, filled with decades of regret and self-recrimination. I let them turn him into exactly what he didn't want to become: a safe symbol, a sanitized saint. I had the power to tell the truth, and I chose silence. Did this secret meeting really happen? Nina's account has never been independently verified, and some historians question whether her final interviews, given when she was ill and possibly medicated, can be trusted completely. but certain facts support her story. King's speeches in his final year were indeed more radical than ever before. He was planning a poor people's campaign that would have shut down Washington, D.C. He was speaking out against the Vietnam War despite advice from allies who warned it would cost him support. Whether or not Nina's account is completely accurate, it reveals something important about the burden carried by those who lived through the civil rights era. The knowledge that their heroes were human, flawed, and ultimately vulnerable to the same forces that threatened them all. Nina Simone died on April 21, 2003, taking her secrets with her. The sealed interviews won't be released until 2023, and even then the interviews won't be released. Historians will debate their authenticity and significance, but perhaps the truth of what happened in that church basement matters less than what Nina's story tells us about the cost of moral courage. Whether King asked her to be his witness or she simply wished he had, Nina spent 35 years believing she had failed to honor the memory of a man she respected. The story of Nina Simone's secret meeting with Martin Luther King Jr., whether real or imagined, reminds us that history is more complex than our monuments suggest. Our heroes were human beings who faced impossible choices, made difficult compromises, and sometimes failed to live up to their own ideals. Nina Simone's final confession, true or not, was the admission that she had been presented with a moment to make history and had chosen safety instead. It was the confession of a woman who had spent her life singing about courage but wondered if she had shown enough of it when it mattered most. And perhaps that's the most human story of all, the story of someone who lived with the weight of chances not taken, words not spoken, truths not told. In the end, Nina Simone's greatest regret may not have been anything she did, but something she didn't do. The silence she chose in 1968 echoed for the rest of her life. A reminder that sometimes the most important conversations are the ones that never become public, and the heaviest burdens are the secrets we choose to carry alone.